We've been talking to Neil McMurray, who blogs as Voice for Children on the island of Jersey. And we wanted to understand how it could be that the cover-up of the child abuse scandal could have been carried out so thoroughly that people have been imprisoned, gone bankrupt, lost their jobs, freedom of speech has been curtailed, all apparently in order to suppress the embarrassing or disgraceful secrets that surround the child abuse scandal on the island. And Neil has explained how Jersey functions in the most extraordinary, what I would call almost medieval way that enables this to happen. Well, Neil, I wonder if we could ask you a bit about how it can be that these things can happen in Jersey in the way that you've described. Because as I understand it, it still functions a bit like a medieval country with the Queen in charge and Parliament. It seems to be a kind of talking shop with little influence. Can you explain how it works? How can it be that they're able to control the island so completely?
Well, I won't go all the way back to 1769.
No.
The way he overthrew a corrupt royal court. But that's how our so-called democracy started. But the way it is now is pretty much the way it was then, back in 1769. The royal court run the island, and they basically still runs the island. Our bailiff, who's appointed by the Queen, is our titular head. He's the chief judge, and he's the president of our parliament as well. So he's both the legislature and the judiciary. So there's no separation of powers here. There's no division. So our courts are basically politicized. And so there's a great piece that Advocate Philip Sinnell, he's a local advocate and historian and constitutional expert. He gave evidence to a review that was going on called the Carswell Review. And he explained it perfectly, how it's Buggins' choice. So all these people are appointed by the Queen. So you've got the bailiff. He's the head judge and titular head and everything. And you've got deputy bailiff. And below that, you've got the attorney general. Below that, you've got the solicitor general. And what happens is you've got a thing called Buggins' choice. So if you become solicitor general, basically, it goes on that you're going to become AG, attorney general, deputy bailiff. And none of these people are elected, and none of these people are accountable. These are the real power on the island. The Queen yields all the power on this island because she supposedly, through letters patent, appoints these people. And of course, I think I mentioned it earlier about how the Attorney General basically is the real power on this island. If he makes a decision not to prosecute somebody, that can't be judicially reviewed, that can't be appealed. It can't, you can't bring a private prosecution. So, as we spoke about earlier, that the Attorney General at the time, William Ballash, who went on, of course, to become deputy bailiff and bailiff, and of course his brother, Philip Ballash, was the Attorney General and all, He drops 11 or 12 cases. That's it. There's nothing any of us can do about that. Nothing. It's complete and utter power, unchallenged power. I don't know if you can try and take it to the Privy Council, but what happens when people have tried to go to the Privy Council, and all the Privy Council say, oh no, we can't get involved. Jersey's a self-ruling jurisdiction. You've got your own parliament. But the UK does have a constitutional obligation to ensure good governance and the rule of law in all its crown dependencies. It stepped in with the Turks and Caicos, with the corruption. And with the corruption that was going on with the Turks and Caicos Islands was, I mean, pathetic in comparison to the corruption that goes on in Jersey. So the UK is able to step in and ensure good governance and the rule of law. But we've got what you call a lieutenant governor. He's supposed to be the eyes and the ears of the Queen. And he is supposed to report up to the Queen what exactly is going on over here. Well, you know, after Operation Rectangle, you know, the getting rid of Stuart Sivray, who was a health minister then, you know, possibly illegally suspending the chief of police on a pack of lies. There's untold, again, I could go on for hours with the corruption and everything. So if the governor thinks this is good governance, what the bloody hell does bad governance look like? You know, so what is his real... Nobody... See, the problem is our media, our complicit media, keep people ignorant. They don't tell people who the real power is on this island. So we've got a parliament made up of 49 members. I mean, we've got 12 constables, we've got 12 parishes. So there's a mother. Sorry, I'll just switch this off. There's 12 parishes, and each parish has the mother or father of the parish, which is the constable. They get a seat in the parliament, just because they're by virtue of their office. Okay, because they're the head of the parish, so they automatically get given a seat in our parliament. Now, 11 out of 12 constables didn't face an election, haven't received a single vote, and they vote along with the establishment. They're the power block.
And they're 11 out of the 46, are they? They're part of the 46.
Out of the 49, yeah.
49 rather.
Of course,
yeah.
They haven't received a single vote between them. So, you know, we haven't. They say it's a democracy, because we've got constables, we've got deputies, we've got senators. So but this is all getting changed now. That we have had some kind of reform, because constables, deputies, and senators all do the same thing. They've all got the same votes. They all earn the same money. So it's made our political system is made obscure. People don't understand it. They think, well, and we haven't got party politics. So people think, well, what's the point in voting? And of course, all these powerful, landowning, well-to-do families get elected over here. You know, it's a personality, it's a competition sort of thing to get elected. If you read some of the manifestos, it's almost, you would cry. Well, you know, it's just disgraceful how people get elected over here. But
the lieutenant general, looks like a nice old bloke. He's a retired RAF person, isn't he? Is that right?
The lieutenant governor.
The lieutenant governor.
They're all ex-military men that come over here. Never had a woman yet. There's never been a woman. There's never been a woman bailiff either. I don't think there's ever been a woman attorney general either. But yeah, you know, again, you'll find, and I don't mean any disrespect to military people, but they do what they're told. They're trained to do what they're told, to take orders.
Do you think there's a balance of power between the bailiff and the lieutenant governor? Who's the more powerful of those
here's
two?
the thing: it's recently been changed now that the bailiff, I think, is on the panel. He's one of the, and I say he because there's never been a she. He's the one that helps appoint the lieutenant governor.
All right.
So he gets to choose. Helps to choose. It comes back, you know, I've said it previously, Lenny Harper, the former senior investigating officer, said this wouldn't make for a credible fictitious story. And it's true. It's true. It's getting to truth is over here is less believable than fiction. You know,
No, it's Terry Pratchett territory, isn't it? It's
yeah. You know, we're not a democracy. We can't change our governments. In the UK, you have party politics. You know, you say, right, well, I'm not voting Labour this time, or you know, or like, as it is now, Conservative. You think, well, I don't want a Conservative government anymore. I'm going to campaign to, you know, to get Labour elected so they can be our government. We can't do that over here. We've got one political party, I think it's got 5 members, you know, but all the rest are so-called independents. But you know, they're all right-wing conservative. You know, the majority are right-wing conservatives. So,
and the way you operate comes out in the documentary "Dark Secrets of a $1 Trillion Island." It comes out as though, because it's a tax haven, I mean, Jersey is a tax haven, as we know, that actually these businesses that want to put their money in Jersey like this way, because it's calm. Nothing bad happens. You know, you're not going to have legislation which business doesn't want passed on that island. That was another explanation, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I think it was said by, I think it was John Christensen from the Tax Justice Network. He said in the documentary, what it is, you get these people voted in as parliamentarians. You know, a lot of them, it's not, I don't want to tar everybody with the same brush, but, you know, a lot of them haven't got a brain cell between them. And that's ideal for, you know, when you're looking at complex...
You have to be so careful, Neil, because from what you've said before, you say these things, somebody's going to get stressed by it.
Yeah. I'm going to cause somebody stress and harm, and I'm going to end up in a bloody secret.
They could be knocking on that door behind you.
Yeah. So, I'm going to look actually.
Not yet. They're on their way.
Oh, yeah, they're on their way. Now, it's I've forgotten where we were now.
Sorry.
Well, business likes the fact that nothing unusual is going to happen.
But that means that the people who want to behave badly, as long as they're not committing financial crimes,
yes, that's
presumably
all they're interested in.
Nobody wants to disturb them.
And also, it's said in this documentary that legislation that they need or they want, these businesses, is passed over to these politicians, and they say, the business people say apparently, they haven't got a clue what they're going to be passing. They don't look at this. They don't understand it. They just pass it. That was what came out in the documentary, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, and it also really came out in the care inquiry as well, the Independent Jersey Care Inquiry, and it's with the former Home Affairs Minister Wendy Kinnard, who supported Operation Rectangle, and they got rid of her. She was in the, she's been a great advocate for the truth, but she was trying to bring social legislation, you know, for years.
Yeah.
But it would, and this all come out in the care inquiry. But anything to do with financial legislation goes through within weeks. You know, so, and this is the problem, because there's complex financial legislation and that. You know, that none of these people have got a bloody clue what any of it means, and it's just going through on the nod. And of course, the big finance companies love this, and of course, there's no credible opposition to the government. So I think Apple, it was published. I think Apple was one of the questions they asked: is there, you know, anybody that can make any noises there? Is there any disruption? Oh no, you know, it's a solid government because you can't overthrow the government. So Apple invested their money here, you know.
And Leah's writing about that too, Neil, isn't she? Leah's writing about that. So they'll hate her for that too, of course, won't they?
Yeah, well, you know, Leah's name, you know, same as Lenny Harper's, anybody who stood up for the abuse survivors and everything, or challenge authority over here, like Leah does, you know, they're hated. They'll be introduced on the local BBC long-time critic of Jersey, you know. So it implants something in the listener's mind or the viewer's mind. Oh, that they're a critic of Jersey, so of course they're going to slag Jersey off. They don't know what they're talking about, you know. And this is what happens. I think, Leah's looking into, among many others, I don't know a great deal about it myself at the minute, but it's LaHoog, the St. John's Man of the Dix family and everything. There's these 350,000 documents that have come to light, all about, it's all to do with money laundering and all the rest of it, so it's a big, another scandal. See, Jersey doesn't learn from the establishment doesn't learn from its past or its mistakes. It keeps going on, thinking, right, let's ignore these people until they get too loud, who are speaking out against us, and then let's destroy them. This is why it's the Jersey way. It's, if we can ignore them long enough, we will, but if they start getting too loud, we'll destroy them. And Leah, luckily enough, she's off island, so it's going to be a little bit more difficult for the Jersey Law Officers Department and Attorney General's office to get to her. She is writing, on all this stuff, because there is lots of financial crime over here. Like, it's not just child abuse. There's planning corruption over here. I know an outside police force is over here investigating now for untold, absolute criminal acts allegedly done by police officers and, possibly law officers department. So all this crime is still going on. But again, the media just keep it, keep it down. They don't want any real scandal,
But I guess this is what happens when the lights are out. I mean, the analogy is that once you've got the dark and nobody wants to allow any light in, people get up to all sorts of things, and it's not. It's up to the institution to police itself, because nobody else is going to be able to do it. If they don't, they're stuck with a cover-up, and the cover-up is usually what gets you, because it's never complete, it's never adequate. But people are getting away with it by the feel of it. From what I'm picking up from you is there's a feeling that they still have this grip on the situation that's very hard to let any light in as to what's actually happening.
Yeah, for sure. Again, we've got no real journalism on the island. We've got basically people who go around saying, in the evidence I gave at the care inquiry, well, we went, some bloggers and the mainstream media, local mainstream media, were invited to come and speak with the care inquiry at an open hearing. Of course, Channel Television, ITV, didn't have the courage to turn up, and the BBC over here didn't have the courage to turn up. There was the Jersey Evening Post and the Bailiwick Express. It was an online thing, but they turn up. And I said it at this particular hearing that a journalist thinks it's their job. If somebody says it's raining, they need to report that. And they need to go and find somebody who says it's not raining. So they say, well, now I've put out a balanced story. You know what I mean? They said, somebody said it's raining, somebody says it isn't raining. So I put out a balanced story. What they should be doing is sticking their head out the bloody window and see if it's raining or not. But this is the kind of journalism we've got over here. Like, he said it's black, he said it's white. There you go. There's my article. And nobody looks for the truth over here, except us bloggers. We looked for the truth. When they tried to discredit, and it was in the documentary itself, discredit Lenny Harper, saying it was a piece of coconut, not a child's skull. Bearing in mind that there's 1.6% collagen found on that piece of child's skull. Now, when their media started saying, "Oh well, it was coconut. Don't worry about it," nobody except for us bloggers turned around and said, "Well, what the bloody hell happened to the collagen then? How does that happen?" But the media don't ask that question. They don't ask those questions. They just
collagen, just to mention, is connective tissue you find in living organisms. So a skull would have collagen in it, but a coconut would not.
But the thing
and
that...
of course, it was found in an area that was alerted by the cadaver dog. It was found in that area as well. So, but our media basically keep the population ignorant.
But you also have an absurd image then of policemen or any other serious investigator picking up a piece of coconut shell and mistaking it for a child's skull.
Well,
it's a kind of grotesque Soviet-style lie, isn't it? You get this kind of thing coming out of Russia at the moment as well.
And if I remember, the anthropologist had basically not only said it was a piece of child's skull, she said actually what part of the skull it came from. And she is, a well-renowned, Julie Roberts, I think it was, well-renowned anthropologist.
Yeah, silly her. It's a coconut.
Yeah, so, and nobody asked the questions. It did come out that it showed that it was, the evidence shows almost certainly that piece of evidence was switched. It came back a different size, texture, and colour after it had been sent off unaudited to the UK. It came back a different piece.
So as long as everybody holds together, this structure can continue, can't it? As long as everybody plays the game.
The other extraordinary thing that that came out of the documentary for me was it all seemed to hinge on whether the police could prove a murder or not. And then when somehow it came about that they said, no, they can't prove a murder, all of the sexual abuse of children kind of didn't exist anymore, didn't seem to even be considered anymore as worth talking about. It was like, oh, what a relief.
It was a coconut.
Children haven't been murdered.
Yeah.
Now we can all go away. Is that how it felt like? That's what I picked up from the documentary. Is that what it seemed like to you, Neil?
Well, that's pretty much where it was, and that was well orchestrated by the media, and they employed media experts themselves. Our establishment did. They needed to. When Mick Gradwell and David Walkup gave that press release saying, there weren't any murders, well, Lenny Harper said the same himself. They weren't saying anything new.
No.
They're just still trying to discredit Lenny. And you are right. So people think, and in fact, I've chatted to people who say exactly what you've just said there. They're saying that they feel ashamed of themselves. They think, because since there wasn't a murder, I wasn't that interested after that. There was nothing really to worry about. This sort of opinion management doesn't happen by mistake. I say everybody was talking about how much Lenny Harper spent his expenses in London restaurants or on airplane flights and all that, because that's what the media wanted everybody to talk about. They didn't want anybody talking about the abuse that was allowed to go on for decades and how it was able to go on for decades. So I don't blame people in that respect for thinking, not giving the abuse a lot of thought, because they were programmed by our media to not worry about the abuse. Great, there wasn't any murders there. Don't forget, I think it was Anna Brees, a journalist, she's been questioning, because there was multiple bones, children's remains discovered up at Haute de la Garenne. Tibia, femur, teeth. So where are all these things now? I think they're still down at the police station now. And I'm sure it was Anna Brees who asked, well, are you going to be sending them off for more, because the DNA has come a long way since then, for more examinations. And the police now have said, no, because no one's been reported missing. No one, bearing in mind there was never any decent records kept anyway. Nobody's been reported missing. Nobody's been reported as a bit. So we're not going to bother looking into these children's remains.
That's not the normal thing, is it?
It isn't.
Normally, if you have some remains, you try and find out maybe it's somebody's.
Where do they come
Somebody
from?
must be missing.
Well, that was another thing, because they were talking about rape. They were talking about that some of these children at Haute de la Garenne had been raped. They were talking about some of them, as a consequence, got pregnant. And I'm thinking, well, what happened to the babies? There must have been babies. Where did they go? Has anyone asked that question, Neil?
Yeah, well, again, we have through the years in our blog, the evidence we've seen is that, anecdotal evidence, witness statements saying that there were forced abortions, illegal abortions.
Right.
There was a lot of that, a lot of that going on. Then the babies were taken from them in some cases. Again, like you're right, nobody's been asking these questions, because everybody's too busy talking about how much a police officer spent in a bloody restaurant, or that and they're saying, "Oh, no one was murdered," so and that's the problem. And I say all this could all still happen again. This is the frightening thing about it, because Jersey is still structured exactly the same as it was decades.
Wait, you were saying that somebody's under investigation now. One of the
Andrew Lewis, was it, or
one of the government officers?
Andrew Lewis got away with it scot-free. And in fact, here's the other one person called a liar, like I said before. You know what happened? He ended up getting his own column in our only newspaper. He also just had a lovely big double-page spread in our local newspaper promoting his new business. You think the one and only person that was called a liar is championed by our only newspaper. But no, the current, well, not current now because he's been forced to step down, children's minister is being investigated by the police. Again, there's a lot of speculation as to what it is. It's all very tight-lipped at the minute. I don't think it'd be right. I better not say, but for the fact that he's been asked to step aside, at such an early stage, he is, as far as I understand it, he is under investigation as we speak.
But in the Jersey Hall of Mirrors, it could be that he's actually trying to do something good, or it could mean that he's trying to do something bad. You couldn't tell, could you?
Well, that's the whole thing. Like I say, because of our politicised, corrupt judicial system, again, just because somebody's been convicted in our courts doesn't mean that they committed a crime. This is the unfortunate thing about it. Is you just don't know. Only I think it was just over 50% of people trust our judiciary over here. And only 25% of the island trusts the government. So, and I say without that separation of powers, because the judiciary presides over the legislature, so it's
we're talking of an island with how many people? I'm sorry to interrupt you, Neil, but an island of what size is it?
108,000, I think, is the thing. So, because our legislature, if any court case now can be accused, just because of that non-separation of powers, can be accused of being politicised, just on that alone. And of course, we know that our courts destroy and imprison and bankrupt political dissidents. So.
But it's kind of you, Neil, to talk. I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but I was thinking it's kind of you to talk to us from kind of North Korea, because one of the weird things is talking to you here on the internet, because it's always a little bit shaky getting a good signal, but it does emphasise the way in which you seem to be speaking from a distant planet almost, with a different kind of government, a different culture, a different... Well,
I think very few people in the UK would understand the level of complexity and the way in which the system operates. I think people will be shocked when they hear this.
Absolutely.
We don't understand. I don't know about people in the UK. Jersey people don't understand.
You don't know. No.
We think... I've had to be politicised. I did get politicised through everything that was going on. But most people aren't politicised, and they don't know. If you ask them what's a deputy or what's a senator, what's the bailiff's job, nobody knows. They're just kept ignorant. And I say it doesn't matter if you vote, because you can't change the government. So people just don't bother, and so it goes on as it has for hundreds of years, because this total unchallengeable power that runs the island. People think, the politicians, they're useless and they're corrupt, and it's not the politicians. Well, it's the judiciary. It's the people appointed by the Queen who are running it.
And the Queen seems blissfully unaware or uncaring.
From what I can gather, I've seen again, I've seen stuff online that she's got money stashed over here. I think her favoured bank is Coots. I think it's just something I read, and I can't back it up in any way, shape, or form. She has money stashed on this island, so it's probably in her interest to keep everything quiet as well. Like, she's not going to want any rock. The lieutenant governors, the Queen's eyes and ears have been sat here all the way through all this. And, if they are saying something to the Queen, why hasn't she done anything about it? If they're not saying something to the Queen, why not?
Yeah. Did he go to a single day of the inquiry when it was going on? Did he go to listen? Yes.
No.
Well, you would have thought that would have been...
Well, I think he should have been called as a witness.
Yeah.
He should have been called as a witness, because I know of politicians who have taken evidence of, and members of the public who have taken evidence of corruption directly to the governor. And so he's aware of all this stuff. He should have been asked,
what he knew.
What do you know, and what have you done about it? But no, he's the untouchables. This is what you get, the untouchables over here, and the untouchables are all the ones that have been appointed by the Queen. The lieutenant governor, you see him on television, he opens up a couple of fates, goes to, I don't know, Women's Institute and stuff like that. And it's all lovely-dovey, it's all fluffy. And, it costs us about £300,000 a year to keep this guy. But so they show this persona of him, what a lovely man, and he opens up fates. But he's supposed to be the eyes and ears of the Queen over here, and he's basically said and done nothing that we're aware of, to try and stop any of this corruption.
And you're actually at some risk, aren't you, Neil? Because, as you said before, you're speaking out. The law's actually tilted against you, because if you upset somebody, that gives them grounds to attack you. And they were. I expected, but again, you think, well, what do? Do you just sit down and shut up, and go along with it, or do you just try and make a change, make a difference? Hopefully, they will be watching this. That they watch every move I make. It came out in the care inquiry that the Attorney General admitted that they read my blogs, and hopefully they will listen to this and think, look, we need to change this guy's opinion of us. And people like me, they need to change our opinions of what they think, what we think of them, rather than enforce our opinions by, courts and the rest of it. They should say, hang on a minute, these are the people we need to be reaching out to. We shouldn't be destroying these people. We should be reaching out to them, gaining their trust, gaining their confidence. But they don't, like I say, they do it the Jersey way. They're on a pragmatic level. They may be trying to judge, can they get out and retire and disappear before the cover-up is exposed, because that's the judgment people will be making. Can they continue to suppress you? Are you still inconsequential in your voice, or do they need to start worrying about the cover-up breaking down and people really becoming concerned about what's going on? If nobody's going to get concerned, they can carry on indefinitely, can't they?
Yeah, that's right. But again, I always look on legacies, and because I've looked back, back to the 1769, 1771 code, and what are people going to be writing about these people in power today? In 50 years, 100 years time. When my grandchildren say to me, "What did you do about it?" At least I can hold my head up and say, I'll tell you what, look, I didn't keep my mouth shut. I didn't roll over. I tried to make change. I tried to make a difference. And there's a lot of, Enrico Sorda is the same. I say there's a lot of bloggers, at that time, Trevor and Shona Pittman, Tony Bellows, Tony's Musings, Daniel Wimberley. We've all tried to do our bit, and
the alternative is you join the grubby little group who are covering up all sorts of horribleness. Just for their money and for their.
Well, you're all very brave, Neil.
You're very brave, Neil. Thank you very much for speaking to us.
Come and talk to us again, because you've got masses to say, I know.
I can talk to you. Unfortunately, I can talk for hours about this, and I just wish I didn't know what lives in my head. So thank you for taking an interest in this.
We admire you for speaking up.
Yeah, we do. Good luck.